Top to bottom, this is the best linebacker class I've ever scouted. Today, I'm going to give you my top 10 as well as a plethora of honorable mentions. But as always, get in the comment section below and let me know your favorite linebackers in this year's class. Now, I'm excited for today's video because, for one, the channel is growing. We're up to 24 subscribers. By the way, it's a brand new channel. I have another channel with over 18,000 of you beautiful people. So, if you enjoy, subscribe to the channel as we continue to grow for the draft fanatics out there to see the content. But honorable mentions are on your screen. These are guys that, whether if you guys turned it in through the community or I found them on my own, of course. Harold Perkins there at number 13, athletic as all can be there for the LSU Tigers, but there's a lot of questions around the rest of his game. Xavier Atkins, he is explosive, but there for the Auburn Tigers, he is a bit undersized, and well, I worry about him in the run game. Torian York, when you talk about a traditional, smart linebacker that can sniff out pretty much any play, he fits the mold. However, he's a bit short, and you worry about his measurements and how he's going to test here in the coming weeks. Depending on how he tests, he could skyrocket up my rankings. He has the talent. It's the physical limitations. Deontay Lawson might be the best coverage linebacker in this class. But outside of his coverage ability, there's a lot of questions and not really many answers to match. So that's why he's down here at number 10. But for a team that wants to grab a linebacker for situational coverages and packages, Deontay Lawson will fit perfectly in those schemes. And at number 9 is Jack Goldey, a guy that was in my top 6. Then he kind of dropped down. Now he's back up to number 9. He has legitimate sideline-to-sideline speed as far as, well, making a tackle with inside the dashes. However, you worry about his long speed. You worry about his ability to keep up in coverage. But overall, as far as being a very smart linebacker that can decept plays and really stop them before they get started, Jack Goldey is a traditional Mike linebacker in that sense. But that is my honorable mentions list. Let's get into the top 8. Now, I'm also excited for today's episode because I got a new soundboard. So we're going to try that out and let me know if you guys like that down the line. Also, let me know some fun sounds out there because it can fit in here with the channel, especially when we talk about those certain players that are coaches' favorites. You know, the first in, last out kind of guys. Let me know if there's any cool sound bites out there that I could add. At number 8 is Elijah Hardy at 5'11", 230. Definitely a bit short, but when you look at the Indiana Hoosiers defense from a year ago, he was the green dot. He was the center and the play caller of that historic defense. Of course, they won the national title. The defense was electric, and it started and it really ended with Elijah Hardy. Very secure tackler, but a guy that has elite football IQ. He sniffs out a lot of plays, recognizes a lot of pass and run concepts, and ultimately, again, was the anchor of that dominant defense. Now, the cons, again, he's a bit undersized, a bit short, and he isn't the top-end athletic linebacker like there are some guys in this class on the top end. But all in all, solid linebacker, great depth piece, and he could be a late-round pick. Now, if you're just looking for a fun project, a guy that checks all the athleticism boxes, it's Jayshawn Barham at 6'3", 245. He has perfect linebacker size to play multiple positions at the next level. But I just think as far as his production on the field, he's very solid all around. He can do a little bit of everything. He's not elite at anything, but overall, he brings versatility as a pass rusher. He did have a bit of a down season production-wise last year, but his coverage ability is also not great. But as far as an athletic freak, a guy that can check the majority of boxes and do well enough to stay on the field, Jayshawn Barham is on 7 on my list for that reason. Now, this is kind of the reason I wanted to get a soundboard because, hold on, we're going to try it. Stick with me here. But at number 6, you might not heard of him, but it is Red Murdock. Run it. We'll stop that there. But Red Murdock at 6'3", 240 of the Buffalo Bulls. Not only does he have one of the funnest names in NFL history in a few months, but he's been dominant, and it's really going under the radar. Now, last year, Buffalo had 2 very good linebackers. They had Mr. Murdock, and they had Sean Dolak, who led the nation in tackles. Now, Sean Dolak, I was a fan of. He didn't get drafted very high, so I'm wondering how these NFL GMs are going to view another Buffalo linebacker. But as far as his ability to make contact with great technique and really have very few missed tackles, he might be the best in the class. And I'm not going to shy away from that statement. When he gets his hands on the offensive player, the play is done. It is dead, and it might even go backwards. And over the last couple of years there for Buffalo, he has been a turnover machine, forcing 17 forced fumbles. And the easiest way to explain him to the person that may not know him, he's Vontaze Burfict. He is going to hit hard and he's trying to knock somebody out rather protect his opponent. Outside of his coverage ability being lackluster, he checks all the boxes for an ideal Mike linebacker. Let's recap here really quick because we went through it kind of quickly. But 10 through 6 you see on your screen. It goes Red Murdoch at 6, Elijah Hardy at 7, Jayshawn Barham at 8, Golday at 9, and Deontay Lawson at 10. Those guys have a lot of different play styles, but hey, let's get into the top 5. At number 5 is CJ Allen of the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm a Gators fan. It's kind of hard to put this guy here, but that shows you how talented he is. At 6'1", 235, the easiest way to explain him is that he is a violent tone setter. I think that's his archetype because he could play in the middle. He could play on the edge. He could do a little bit of everything, and he might be the smartest linebacker in the class as far as play recognition, but he's just so violent. Again, like I mentioned, he's a tone setter. He makes play after play, and I do think he's a good to great athlete. I'm excited to see how he tests, especially in the coverage drills, because in college, you saw glimpses, you saw flashes of him being good to great in coverage, but you also saw some lapses where sometimes he wasn't making the right decisions in coverage. So I want to see how he tests as far as his mobility in the coverage drills, but also his overall testing for athleticism. But overall for CJ Allen, he's going to be a first-round pick, and I have him at number 5. That goes to show how talented this group is. Now, when we get into the top 4, you can interchange these guys in any way possible, and I am not going to bat an eye because all 4 of these guys should be longtime starters and really Pro Bowl level players for many years in the NFL. At number 4, though, I do have Sonny Styles at 6'4", 240, perfect ideal linebacker size. And I just think he might be the safest linebacker in this top 4 because he's good to great at everything. And at such a young age, he really checks all the boxes. I don't think there's a lot of glaring flaws about Sonny Styles' game. He's incredibly smart. He is a multi-year starter. Again, he's very young, so it's going to be you're getting a guy that's going to be with their franchise for a very long time. And I do think he has the potential to be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. So Sonny Styles, kind of a weak analysis there, but he checks all the boxes, and he's at number 4. Now, his teammate Arvell Reese is a fan favorite amongst draft analysts, as some people have him as the first non-quarterback off the board in this year's draft. At 6'4", 240, there's a lot of good reasons why. Not only does he have that ideal size to him, but he's very powerful. He's just as twitchy, if not more twitchy, where you can use him in a lot of different packages and roles, whether if you want him to step out and cover a smaller wide receiver or tight end, or if you want this guy to rush the passer. It's going to be a defensive coordinator's really dream to have a guy like Arvell Reese at their disposal. He might be the most athletic linebacker I've ever scouted in the 5 years of doing this at a high level. And outside of that, man, he's good, a great tackler. You know, the only nitpick I can bring up about an Arvell Reese is the fact that he doesn't have a set defined position, which some would look at as a pro, some would look at as a con, but also he had a dominant first half of the year. The second half of the year, especially with some of those big time games, he kind of disappeared at times. And now again, I know there's more attention on him in those second half of the year, but Arvell Reese, again, nitpicking here, I would have liked to see a bit more production second half of the year. Moving into the top 2, it is Jacob Rodriguez at 6'1", 230. I think he could be labeled as America's Heisman, as he wasn't even a finalist, despite winning the Butkus Award as the best linebacker in the nation, and his production has been off the charts the last 2 seasons. He has had 127 or more tackles the last 2 seasons, but he's also had a total of 10 forced fumbles and 5 interceptions. It is insane production from the middle of that stacked Red Raiders defense. Jacob Rodriguez checks a lot of the boxes. However, he's not the athlete of a Sonny Styles or an Arvell Reese. So if you're looking to get the most athletic linebacker, Rodriguez is not your guy, but he could be a light version of a Luke Kuechly. I don't think he's going to be as dominant as Luke Kuechly, of course, but Jacob Rodriguez could be a strong starter, Pro Bowl, all-pro level player for the next 10 to 15 years. He just needs to be in the right situation. And at number 1, I see a lot of people down on Anthony Hill, and for good reason. He's coming off of a bit of a down year but so was the entire Texas program there, as they were projected to be the preseason favorites, and they didn't even make the college football playoff. For Anthony Hill, though, as the prospect, at 6'3", 240, he brings great size, and I do grade these players across a lot of different categories. Anthony Hill, in the 5 years of doing this, came out as the best graded linebacker I've ever had, and for good reason. He is a good to great tackler. He has high football IQ. He's so good at sniffing out plays and concepts, especially those screen plays or, delayed plays that he finds on film, and he translates it to the field, getting all of his guys in the right position. I do think he has legitimate sideline-to-sideline speed, elite athlete, if I didn't mention that already. But I do think, just like Arvell Reese, he brings this pass rushing element to him where you can use him in a variety of different ways, whether if you want to have him in a spy, coming off the edge, on a stunt blitz, or if you want to have him dropping back in coverage and making a play. He is that athletic where he can do all of that and even more. So for Anthony Hill, I don't know if he's a Mike go-to linebacker, but he can definitely be a great Will or Sam at the next level. And hey, Anthony Hill at number 1. Let me know your thoughts. This is my top 5, and of course we'll circle back to the tail end of the list. But Anthony Hill at number 1, he's a top 3 to 5 player on my big board. Again, we're still a couple months away. Jacob Rodriguez at 2, Arvell at 3, his teammate Sonny Styles at 4, CJ Allen at 5. 6 through 10, Red Murdoch. Again, I love him. I really love him. And I'm surprised. I'm curious to see where a guy like that goes. But he is a top 50 player for me in this year's class, and he's at number 6. We have Elijah Hardy, Jayshawn Barham, Jake Golday, and Deontay Lawson to round out the list. Of course, let me know your thoughts on today's video and hit that subscribe button if you made it to this point, because we are on the road to as many subscribers as possible. We can't get there without you.